Traded from the Broncos to the Miami Dolphins for this year's second-round selection, which is pick number 43, and Miami's 2011 second-round pick as well. We call in now Jeff Darlington, who covers the Dolphins for the Miami Herald. And Jeff, we start at the top here with you. Do you like the deal that Miami got for Brandon Marshall?
Yeah, I do. And following up on what Jason was talking about, this doesn't just change the complexion of the offense. This has the potential to change the complexion of the entire team. This team has multiple needs going into this draft, and wide receiver was absolutely something they were going to have to address. Now they can focus their attention on the outside linebacker position, the nose tackle position, safety, and even offensive guard. So they can now address a lot of those other needs and not have to worry one bit about the glaring need at that number one spot at wide receiver.
You mentioned a number of potential needs at number 12. What do you target as the need now at 12, considering Miami has its number one receiver in Brandon Marshall?
Well, I really do think you've got to find a safety. Right now, there's nobody starting opposite Jeremiah Bell. They released Jabril Wilson, who was probably not going to be starting at that position anyway, and Ryan Clark decided to re-sign with the Steelers. That really hurt the Dolphins during free agency when Ryan Clark headed back to the Steelers. So I think that they really need to focus on that, whether it's Earl Thomas with the number 12 pick or a later pick. They've got to find somebody to alleviate that need, or maybe even O.J. Atogwe on June 1st. They could potentially go after him as well. But just the Brandon Marshall situation in itself will allow them to go ahead and look in a lot of those other different directions.
Jeff, with the additions of Carlos Danby at linebacker, Brandon Marshall at wide receiver, a couple of marquee names in the National Football League, realistic expectations for this team now in the AFC East?
Well, I think it really bolsters the offense from the standpoint that you're going to maximize Chad Henne's potential, too, in his third year in the NFL. So, realistically, I think they can put themselves in more position to be the team that they were in 2008 as opposed to the team they were last season in 2009. I think they can get back to really competing within the division by having a more dynamic offense, but they still need to address some of those needs in the secondary, and they've got to hope some of the young players on this team really step up along the defensive line and even at the cornerback position.
And Jeff, your initial thoughts on Bill Parcells and a pretty hard-nosed coach, Tony Sperano, bringing in a wide receiver who I believe many would label as a diva, someone who caused some problems in the locker room with Denver.
It's a legitimate concern, and anybody who says otherwise is really overlooking a very serious concern with this acquisition. Now, I will say that the Dolphins go into these situations with a lot of conviction and a lot of optimism and confidence when it comes to their ability to keep a player tempered. And they drafted Vontae Davis despite some character concerns, and that has worked out great for this team. Now they beat up a guy like Richie Incognito, the guard who has shown a lot of times a lot of bad on-the-field decisions when it comes to personal fouls. They believe they can change some of these players. Brandon Marshall apparently no different, but they've got a lot more money invested in Brandon Marshall than they do those other character concerns. So I really think that they're going to have to be very clear with Brandon and probably even have something in his contract to make sure that he stays focused on the task at hand, and that's catching footballs.
Jeff Darlington of the Miami Herald will have no shortage of characters to spend time with during the 2010 season. Jeff, thank you very much.